Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. Today I'm very excited to have my first review of 2016, and that is Eileen by Ottessa Moshfegh. Of course, as usual, this will be spoiler free. I first heard about this from got some lint flying. I first heard about this from Just a Dust Jacket, and he had a pretty glowing review of this. I'll link that down below. But Eileen, it takes place in 1964, and Eileen, of course, our protagonist, she's 24 years old, very depressed and obsessive about everything, which I'll get to. But she's a secretary at a boys' prison. She's also dealing with her alcoholic father, whom she lives alone with. And then in one day, to this very depressing workplace walks Rebecca. She's beautiful, she's educated at Harvard, and she's going to be the new teacher for the boys. So in terms of characters, of course, we have Eileen. Now this book is told interestingly from the perspective of Eileen when she's much, much older. I think 50, 60 years into the future. And that was easily one of my favorite aspects of this book, if not my favorite aspect, because we have a 70, 80-year-old Eileen just kind of looking back on her 24-year-old self and just really honestly being disgusted by herself. Because when Eileen is younger, she's not like a character I've ever read before. She'll spend hours obsessively staring at herself in the mirror. She shrouds herself in all of these clothes and makes no effort to really make herself attractive, because the idea of someone thinking about, say, her breasts or her vagina is just terrifying to her. She also drinks heavily. She's just very obsessive about every aspect of her life. There's one perfect example of how odd she is, and I started cackling. I listened to this as an audiobook and I was driving. I did a 9-hour drive and I just started laughing to myself. But she goes into a store to try on this beautiful golden dress, and when she's nude in front of the mirror, it just describes her flinging her shoulders back and forth just to watch her breasts sway, just so that she can disgust herself. So that gives you kind of an idea of just how off-kilter Eileen is. She is incredibly unlikable, and not in the sense that, for example, I've talked about the book You by Carolyn Kepnes that's pulled from the point of view of Joe, who is a stalker. The things that he does are horrific and he's a psycho, but at the same time he's still kind of likable, at least personality-wise, if that makes sense. Eileen's sort of the opposite in that, yes, she might steal things every now and then, but overall she's not necessarily doing anything terrible, but personality-wise she's just so incredibly unlikable. But in some ways I'm sure we can relate to some of the thoughts that she has, so it's not as if you can't relate to her whatsoever. So one thing I do want to point out, and this is not a spoiler, but the inside flap of the book kind of describes this almost as a psychological thriller, and it talks about a crime that Eileen is drawn into, and it acts as if that is a major point of this book. The crime that occurs, I don't know why I keep doing quotations, it doesn't actually occur until the last maybe 15% of this book. So if you're going into this hoping for a psychological thriller, you know, sort of Gillian Flynn-esque, I don't know if you're gonna enjoy this. This is a really fantastic, well-crafted character study with very minimal dialogue, very minimal things that are actually occurring. For most of this book, I saw someone describe this book as just a never-ending prologue, and if you're not a fan of character studies, I can see how it might feel that way. I really enjoy character studies, so I adored this book. But again, if you're someone who likes very fast-paced, action-packed books with a lot of dialogue, then this probably will not be for you. My only critique of this book is that I thought the ending was a tad anticlimactic. It had just been built up throughout the book, and I think if maybe it hadn't been built up so much, it wouldn't have felt that way. But overall, I enjoyed Eileen, and I find myself still thinking about it a lot, which I wasn't expecting to happen. So if you're in the mood for a very depressing character study that with a very, very unique and very unlikable protagonist, I feel like everything I'm saying about this book could be viewed in a really negative light, but I swear I really enjoyed it. So if you guys have read this, please go ahead and let me know. Also, I'm going to be filming a Q&A video in maybe a few days. I posted a video where you can ask me questions, so I'll link that at the end here, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.